Michael Tait, former band member of the Christian music group Newsboys, have been accused of grooming and touching men in inappropriate and unwanted sensual ways. Now, Michael resigned from this band in January when these allegations first came out and was published by the Royce Report. I'm going to put the link for the Royce Report below this video. Now, this has been happening. He resigned in January, and there have been several conversations around that I've been watching and reading around these allegations and how it's been managed. We've not heard. Michael published one apology or something on social media not long after, but we haven't heard anything until now. So, in a report that was published by the Royce Report, Michael apparently rang one of his victims and apologized. And that's what I want to talk about today. He rang one of his victims and apologized. So I'm going to play this clip from the Royce Report. Again, I'm going to put the Royce Report, the link for the Royce Report below this video, where you can read the full conversation on their website. And you can also go to their YouTube channel and watch the full video from the Royce Report. So I'm just going to play Michael apology and talk about what that is like for the victim.
First made advances on you, touched you inappropriately, and it just ballooned out of control, and it got the best of me. I can say it's from my heart that I'm truly sorry, man. I was sorry during the time, and I was sorry after the time. I never said anything about it, and it escalated to something terrible, and now it's just, it's a big mess, and I have myself to blame.
Now, as I said, you can read the full report on the Royce Report. You can listen to the full recording on the Royce Report and also on their website. And I've been sitting with this since it was published, I think last week, and just listening to it. And, I work with survivors of SA. I write courses for Christian women who have survived SA, and we're in a course right now. And so listening to this raised several things for me that I wanted to come and talk about, because they might raise them for you too. And I thought, let me come and share. So it's really good that Michael rang this gentleman. And, we don't often hear where a perpetrator rings a victim, or an alleged perpetrator rings a victim. And so it's really good. The apology in itself is really good. However, there's some things about it that is uncomfortable and also can be harmful. And so I talk about this a lot in churches, because sometimes in Christian spaces, people are pushed before they're ready to get to forgiveness. And so accept this apology, and it's the Christian way. An apology is right, and it's good. That's what the Bible instructs us to do. But we need to talk about how that apology is done, some of the things that we need to pull out of this, and maybe teach people, if they're going to apologize, how to apologize well, so that the victim doesn't leave with anything else to carry. The apology must be purely and solely about the victim. There mustn't be anything in it about the perpetrator. The victim must not have any responsibility or load from the perpetrator to carry. It must be about, I'm sorry, I did it, it was wrong, and I am sorry. And that's it. So, he was blaming a lot of things. Michael, in the clip, maybe not the clip that I showed just now, but as you watch the Royce Report later on, Michael talks about using substances and how it got the better of him, and it's a mess. And, he blamed the addiction, not him and a responsibility, not him and a decision that he made. He made a choice. He made a choice to use substances, and he made a choice to touch men in unwanted ways. He made a choice to groom, and he made a choice to live the lifestyle that he lived. And so he was blaming that on substances. Now, I have worked in addictions, and I've worked with, for many years, I worked in addictions, and I work with men who understood the weight of addictions and understood what it meant and what was happening for them, and worked really hard to try to change, and many changed, so he was blaming um substances, and apparently it's rife in Christian music world. That's for another story. He said it was sin that got the bigger of me. And why that raises alarm for me, oftentimes we hear when SA happens in Christian spaces with leaders or people in authority, they're really, really quick to label it under sin. And while it is sin, I feel like that's almost a get out clause for people to say, well, it was sin, forgive me. God has forgiven me, and it is sin, and God has forgiven, and we need to forgive too. However, I think sometimes it's a way to not take responsibility. It's a way to not say, yes, I did it and it was wrong. And so, once again, we want to help people to take responsibility and to sit in the discomfort of, I did this, and it's caused you quite a lot of harm, and it's harmed your life, and it's damaging your life, and this takes people's futures. So it really sometimes impacts people's ability to have a relationship, sometimes people ability to form healthy attachments. It impacts people's ability to have children, or to have or to function in a healthy romantic relationship. It affects people's ability to have function in interpersonal relationships. And so it's really important that victims, when perpetrators rather, when they're going to apologize, that's what you apologize for. And you keep the apology about the victim, and never share any story about yourself and why you did it, unless asked. If they ask, well, why did you do it? And I don't think substances or sin, or we can't blame any of those things. We say, I did this and it was wrong. And sit in that discomfort of taking responsibility of that wrong that was done. And for the people who are supportive of these people, and supportive of leadership, or supporting perpetrators, I believe they need support too. Help them to be able to sit in the discomfort of the things that they have done, and the magnitude of the harm that it would have caused. Also, there were more excuses that he made. He begs for mercy, but it says that, he begs for mercy, which is okay. But once again, if you're going to apologize to a victim, make it about the victim and what you've done, and never give the victim the weight of guilt. When this is what I've done, this is how it's affecting me. Never talk about the effect on you. If you're somebody supporting victims and you're listening to perpetrators, never share with the victim anything that the perpetrator says. Never share with the victim that the perpetrator is struggling in any way. Never share with the victim that the perpetrator is, anything that they need. The victim comes to that place on their own. That's a journey that they're walking. That's a journey that they must walk on their own. And it's a place that they must arrive at on their own, without anybody influencing that through any guilt or induced statements like, oh, the perpetrator is really sad, or they're really depressed, or the family's really struggling, or if you're supporting the victim, then that's not a conversation for you to have. Many times when people are healing, they often get to that place. They will get to that place sometimes where they can see, they can fit it in a bigger context of sin. They can fit it in the bigger context of some of the other underlying reasons and what was going on and what could have led to. But oftentimes, victims are in so much pain for many, many years that it's very difficult to come into that place. Requires a lot of healing, a lot of guidance, and a lot of support to get to that place. It compounds it when supporters or perpetrators is sharing their story and their journey and their process. It's really important to not do that. So when I listened to that recording that the gentleman did with this conversation with Michael Tait, and I heard that, I knew that, well, he's not quite ready yet to take responsibility for his actions, because the language that he's using, the way he asked for mercy, the way he puts in things that was going on for him and what was happening at that time, and his struggles and his challenges let me know that he is not ready yet to sit in everything that he has done and to take responsibility for it, and to allow the victim space and time to heal. And that is absolutely crucial. Thank you for watching this video. If you have benefited from our channel, please do not forget to like and subscribe and share this channel with those who you think will benefit.